How do you control the timing of a camshaft?
While it is sometimes done electronically, it is usually done with the oil pump and an actuator on the camshaft and the oil control solenoid.
Oil is pumped from the pan under pressure. Typically, after passing through the filter, it enters into the main oil galley, and then it flows into the passages leading to the upper parts of the engine. The oil pressure from the pump first encounters the oil control solenoid before the actuator on the camshaft. The oil control solenoid controls the oil flow to the actuator. Pressure is routed to either sides of the vane of the actuator. How much pressure is on one side of the vane will determine the position of the camshaft's lobes. The oil pressure is routed through channels that can either advance or retard the camshaft. If you back probe the oil control solenoid with a meter, you might see an average of anywhere between 3 to 12 volts depending on the duty cycle generated by the control module. This is normal because this is an average voltage calculated by your meter. If your meter has a duty cycle function, you can observe the actual duty cycle. If you connect your scan tool, you can compare it to the commanded duty cycle PID for the solenoid in the live stream. It isn't until you connect a scope that you see how the oil control solenoid is controlled. What you are looking at is 0 to 12 volt waveform with nice clean edges like this. The ECM will generate a signal that turns 12 volts off and on. A digital signal is used to control the average voltage or current delivered to a load by varying the duration of the square wave's on state. It is achieved by switching a signal on and off rapidly with the average voltage or current being determined by the ratio of on to the off times, so the oil pressure can be channeled to the correct passage and push on the vanes of the actuator so the angle of the camshaft can be changed. What can go wrong? Well, it could be the oil. First, the oil has to be the correct viscosity for the oil control solenoid and actuator. If the oil doesn't flow as expected, the actuation of the camshaft will be sluggish or too fast. Second, the health of the oil matters. Debris and sludge can block the screens in the oil control solenoid. Most actuators have pins that slide into the actuator's two parts when the oil pressure drops below a specific level. The pins prevent the camshaft from moving during startup when oil has yet to reach the top end of the motor. If the pin shears, it can cause a loud knocking noise during startup. So what about inspection? The first thing you want to do to capture the waveform is typically to disconnect the oil control solenoid before scoping the camshaft and crankshaft waveforms. To determine if the timing chain has stretched or jumped, this will work. But you must ensure that the camshafts are locked. You also need to remember to check that oil and the level first. Often the problem is the oil or the lack of it. If the oil needs to be changed, do this before proceeding with any further diagnostics. I'm Andrew Markell. Thank you very much.